Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the worst games ever released to PlayStation, and I decided to get the Platinum Trophy for it. But in all seriousness, this game has probably the greatest redemption arc in all of video gaming history, because it absolutely sucked when it first came out. Since then though, it has gotten a next generation update and the Phantom Liberty DLC, and it is actually low-key kind of good now. We have a total of 58 trophies to get, including the DLC. We need to complete the story and get all of the 4 major endings, complete all side gigs and collectibles, and then the Phantom Liberty DLC. But the main challenge for this game is trying not to miss any of the 14 missable trophies. So sit back and relax and get yourself prepared to watch me tackle the hostile streets of Night City and this glorious Platinum Trophy. So our story begins by meeting the main character of the game, V, and here we get the good old character customization screen. After deciding what we want V to look like, we then have to pick our first pathway. Now don't stress about this because all this really does is change the introduction of the game, the rest of it is all the exact same. I decided to go with the street kid pathway and we then spawn in and meet Pepe. Now Pepe owes a whole heap of money, or in cyberpunk terms, eddies, to this guy named Kirk. Kirk is what is known as a fixer, and these are people who hire other people to do jobs for them. So to help Pepe out and then get rid of his debt, Kirk wants us to steal a supercar. We find the car, however get confronted by this person named Jackie, and then the police arrive. We get taken into custody, but for some reason the police let us go, and then this begins the blossoming friendship of Jackie and V. We then fast forward to half a year later to V and Jackie on a kidnapping job, and here is where we get to pop the very first trophy of the game. The Fool. Become a mercenary. We completed the job and then met up with our Ripper Doc Vic, who is our upgrade guy, and then we met another fixer named Dex. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really thought this guy looked like Mark Henry from WWE. Anyway, Dex goes and sets us off on a new job to find this robot dog, and then we meet up with this person named Evelyn Parker. We then also meet Evelyn's friend Judy, and here we go over a plan to steal this relic from a person named Yorinobu. Disguised as arm dealers, Jackie and V then sneak their way into Konpeki Plaza, and using the dog they successfully steal the chip from Yorinobu's room. However, as the pair are about to leave, Yorinobu re-enters into the room and his father comes in and they proceed to have an argument. Yorinobu then unalives his father and tells everyone that he was poisoned, and the entire plaza goes into lockdown. Jackie and V try to escape without getting caught, but of course that doesn't go to plan at all, and after jumping down from the roof, the relic then becomes compromised, and the only way to stop it from being destroyed is if they put it in one of their neural ports. We then fight our way through waves and waves of Arasaka enemies. Oh, and I just so happen to pop a trophy here. Right back at ya. Kill or incapacitate an enemy who threw a grenade at you. We arrive at our getaway car but are relentlessly pursued by Yorinobu's men, and Jackie gets critically injured. Unfortunately, Jackie then becomes unalive and he gives us the relic to put into our network. We then return to Dex, and with all of the rumours circulating that we were responsible for the death of Saburo Arasaka, he then betrays us. We then popped our next trophy, and when we woke up, we were no longer V, we were Keanu Reeves. Oh wait, I mean Johnny Silverhand. Anyway, we play out the job as Johnny Silverhand, where he blows up a building, however he gets shot down out of the helicopter and left behind to die. We then miraculously return as V, and here we meet Takamura, who decides to unalive Dex. Yes, this game has a lot of moments where people get unalived. After getting patched up, we then finally meet with Takamura, who was the bodyguard for Sorobu Arasaka. Takamura knows that V was wrongfully accused and knows that Yorinobu killed his father. Takamura wants to help bring Yorinobu to justice, and this storyline is important in order to get the Devil Trophy ending. And so here is where the story starts to become a little bit complicated. So remember the relic that we inserted into our brain before we died? Well, this relic had a construct of Johnny Silverhand's life on it, and it kept us alive even though technically we should be dead. And to make matters worse, we cannot remove this relic, otherwise it will kill us, but it is also slowly killing us at the exact same time. So whilst trying to help Takamura, we are also going on an adventure to try to figure out how we can remove this relic so that we won't die. So in typical investigation fashion, we decided to go back to the source, and that is Evelyn and Judy. However, we find that Evelyn has been abducted, and when we find her, she is not in a very good way. And all we can decipher from her core memories is a lead to a group known as the Voodoo Boys. Meanwhile, Takamura has done some digging, and we have to find a guy named Anders Hellman. However, we have absolutely no idea how to find anyone in Night City, and the only person who can help us is Rogue. Rogue wants 15,000 eddies, however, in order to get the information, and yeah, let's just say I don't have that type of money. I'm cooked, man. Anyway, I then went and sold every single item in my inventory and finally had enough eddies to get the intel off Rogue. She also gave us the contact for someone known as Panam Palmer. Now, Panam is my true love. She is honestly so beautiful and I would happily do whatever she asked of me.
What did he say?
So Panam takes us to the Aldecaldo's camp to pick up her gear, and before we go and find Hellman, we have to go and complete a few errands for her in order to gain her trust. And these are all related to the Life of the Road trophy, which is for completing Panam Palmer's storyline. And yeah, let's just say it gets a little bit spicy. Anyway, after completing these missions, we then finally find Hellman and knock him out and take him back to our motel for questioning. Hellman tells us that the relic is a biochip and it is a prototype, and our neural network is being completely deteriorated, and without the chip we are going to die. Takamura then appears, and then he proceeds to question Hellman, and this then pops us our very next trophy. The Wheel of Fortune. Interrogate Anders Hellman. After Takamura is done questioning Hellman, we then meet up with him in order to try and devise a plan to get in contact with Hanako Arasaka. Takamura plans to use the funeral ceremony for Sarabuhu Arasaka to get in contact with Hanako. And so basically this whole next sequence is just a talking simulator with Takamura as we gain intel, and oh, I also popped one of the 15 missable trophies here.
Childhood memories.
Stanislavski's method. Use a dialogue option related to V's life path 10 times. After finding all of the intel for Takamura, I then got a call for Panam, and yeah, of course, I was absolutely dropping everything and heading over to help her out.
Dude, I want to jerk off! Fuck! I want to jerk off! Look at this!
Panam tells us that the leader of the Aldecaldos, Saul, has been abducted and we need to go and find him. After completing this mission, we didn't really have anything else to do, so we kind of just chilled and walked around, and then we decided to go and investigate the Voodoo Boys. Now, earlier on when we were investigating Evelyn's death, there was this group known as the Voodoo Boys who potentially had something to do with the original job. The Voodoo Boys are located at a church in Pacifica, and here we meet Placide. Now, Placide isn't the guy we're after. We actually want to meet this person called Brigitte. However, Brigitte is the leader, and there's no way we're getting to her unless we complete a job for Placide. Placide doesn't really tell us much about the job, but we go ahead and do it anyway, and we actually have to free Brigitte. After freeing her, the Voodoo Boys try to kill us, but of course we are completely unstoppable, and then we confront Brigitte and Placide. Brigitte then tells us that she will be able to remove the relic from us in the crypt downstairs, and here we get into a flashback of when Johnny was originally attacked, and we meet Alt Cunningham. Alt is one of Johnny's long-lost girlfriends, and she escaped into the subnet in Arasaka Tower, and this is the reason why Johnny blew the tower up in the very first place at the start of the game. With the help of Brigitte, we enter into the subnet and manage to contact Alt, who is beyond the Blackwall, and she says that she can disentangle Johnny and V's relic and get access to the Mikoshi. Now, the Mikoshi is a machine that is in Arasaka Tower, and this is where we'll need to go if we want to get rid of the relic. The Hermit. Find Alt Cunningham. We then meet back up with Takamura and wait for the parade to start. As the parade starts, we then sneak onto the float and confront Hanako Arasaka. But instead of talking to her, Takamura decides to shoot her. We take Hanako to a hideout, but before we can get even any answers, Arasaka's men have tracked us down. After getting separated from Takamura, we then have to fight our way out, but it's important here that you remember to save Takamura, otherwise you will get locked out of one of the missable endings. After escaping back to a motel on the outskirts of Night City, a bot shows up, and it is Hanako, and she tells us that she believes us and that we have to meet in person. The High Priestess. Talk with Hanako Arasaka. And so after completing this mission, we are up to the final mission of the game. However, we need to clean up all of the remaining character storylines so that we have access to all of the 4 missable endings. So there are 4 major endings in the game, and to get them all, you need to complete the storylines of Panam, Takamura, and Rogue. There are also missable trophies tied to other character storylines that don't affect the endings, but they also need to be completed before the final mission as you are locked out of them. And so of course the very first storyline I decided to complete was Panam's. Now at this stage I was already a fair way through her storyline, but basically we went and stole some Militech equipment and assembled a tank. We then used this tank to defend the Aldecaldo's camp against an enemy group known as the Raffins, and then we revealed to Panam what is actually going on with Johnny and the relic, and then we popped our trophy for completing her storyline. Life of the Road. Complete Panam Palmer's storyline. Our next storyline to complete was Rogue's, and this would get us the trophy Bushido and Chill. Now this mission allows us to take a medication given to us from Misty that allows Johnny to take over our body. As you can imagine, Johnny gets up to some pretty crazy stuff, and then we wake up and find Rogue with us. What's the goal with these missions? Well, do you remember the very start of the game where there was that big machine dude that killed Johnny? Well, that's Adam Smasher, and the goal is to try to find him and kill him for killing Johnny. We find Rogue's contact named Grayson, however it turns out that Adam Smasher has been named head of security for Arasaka, and therefore it is going to be impossible for us to even get to him. Instead of finding Smasher though, we happen to find a couple of items of Johnny's from his previous life. Now it's important that you take all of these items, as this will help you to get the breathtaking trophy, which is for collecting all of the items that once belonged to Johnny Silverhand. Oh, and if you didn't know, this trophy was also missable. We then take Rogue for a drive, and let's just say things start to get a little bit spicy.
Yeah, boy.
And then we pop our next trophy for completing Rogue's storyline. Bushido and chill. Watch Bushido X with Rogue. After completing Rogue's storyline, we then unlock access to Kerry Eurodyne's storyline, which we have to complete in order to get the 2 Bad Decisions trophy. Now again, if you remember to the start of the game, Johnny was playing in a band, well Kerry is a part of that band. And this questline is basically just trying to get the band back together. So we meet Kerry at his mansion, convince him to get the band back together, and then we set off to find Nancy, who is another member of the band, Samurai. We find Nancy on a job and help her complete it, and she agrees to do the gig and will even set it up for us. We then completed the gig and then did a few other jobs for Kerry before blowing up a yacht, and this completed his storyline. 2 Bad Decisions. Complete Kerry Eurodyne's storyline. With Kerry's storyline now finished, I turned my attention towards Detective Ward's storyline. After completing this storyline, we will get the To Protect and Serve trophy. Here we get a call from Elizabeth Perales and her husband, and they ask us to investigate a crime. To help us solve this crime, we ask for Detective Ward's help, and after completing it, we realise that Detective Ward actually has some demons of his own past. His nephew Randy has gone missing, and considering that we did such good detective work earlier, River asks us to help and try and locate him. And so this questline wasn't really that interesting, but basically we complete a few quests, analyse some BD evidence, and then eventually find Randy and pop our next trophy. To Protect and Serve. Complete River Ward's storyline. And then the final storyline we had to complete before finishing the game is Judy Alvarez, and this will pop us the trophy Judy vs Night City. After returning to Judy's apartment, we find that Evelyn has unalived herself. Judy is enraged at the death of her friend Evelyn, and this questline is all about how we can take back control of the Clouds nightclub where Evelyn previously worked at. However, instead of killing Maiko, the club owner, Judy proposes that the dolls who work there should own the nightclub instead of the gang known as the Tiger Claws. Maiko, the owner, is somehow interested in this plan and decides to help us take down the Tiger Claws. However, this was all just a ploy, and Maiko plans to become the boss of the Tiger Claws and wants to betray Judy and use us to help her. But of course, I couldn't betray Judy, and I killed Maiko, and this then popped us the next trophy. Judy vs Night City. Complete Judy Alvarez's storyline. So with all the storyline quests and all the missable trophies basically cleaned up, we can now move on to the final mission of the game. So I met with Hanako Arasaka, who offers to get us a meeting with the Arasaka company board members and testify against Yorinobu for killing his father. In return, Hanako will help us destroy the relic, getting rid of Johnny and saving our life. However, during the discussion, the relic malfunctions and then we wake up back in Vic's clinic and we basically have no time left to live and need to take matters into our own hands. We then run into Misty, and after a cute, deep and meaningful, we then have the hardest decision to make in the entire game. These choices decide the ending, and of course I was always going to go with the love of my life, Panam. So after ringing Panam, she takes us back to the Outer Caldo's camp and we devise a plan to assault Arasaka Tower. The assault runs pretty smoothly and we ram a tank through the main doors and gain access to the lower levels where the Mikoshi is located. However, just as we are about to get to the Mikoshi, Adam Smasher storms through the door and then stomps Saul's head in, and yeah, this was kinda crazy. Oh, it's this guy. Adam Smasher. Anyway, the fight with Smasher was pretty underwhelming and we killed him pretty quickly, and to make matters worse, he glitched and I couldn't even take his loot. We then make our way to the core, however the progression of the relic has gone too far and our body now thinks we are Johnny, and after 6 months V will die. We decide to live out the remaining 6 months of our lives, and then Johnny goes off into cyberspace with Alt, and we then wake up with Panam and leave Night City. The world.
Life out there in the desert.
Complete the main storyline.
Fresh air in those lungs.
The star. Leave Night City with the Outer Caldos. So with the game now finished, I decided to clean up all of the combat and collectible trophies before moving on to the Phantom Liberty DLC. Now there are a whole heap of trophies here, but it's best to follow a guide so you know what specific cyberware or perk you need in order to get these trophies, and yeah, look, they're not too grindy at all. I won't go into too much detail, but just enjoy the sound of trophy popping after trophy popping. Gunslinger. Shoot an enemy grenade in mid-air with a revolver. The Wandering Fool. Find all the tarot graffiti for the job Fool on the Hill. 2 heads, 1 bullet. Kill or incapacitate 2 enemies with the same sniper rifle shot. Rough Landing. While Berserk cyberware is active, perform a superhero landing to kill or incapacitate 2 enemies. V for Vendetta. After reviving with Second Heart, kill or incapacitate the enemy who killed you within 5 seconds. Master Crafter. Craft 3 tier 5 items. Full body conversion. Install at least 1 implant in each system and body part. Demon in the Shell. Kill or incapacitate 3 enemies with 1 detonate grenade quick hack. There we go. The quick and the dead. Kill or incapacitate 50 enemies while time is slowed. Must be rats.
2077.
Perform the distract enemies quick hack 30 times without drawing attention to yourself. Auto Jock. Buy all vehicles available for purchase. I am the law. Complete all cyber psycho sighting. Breathtaking. Collect all items that once belonged to Johnny Silverhand. Now the final part of the cleanup was for completing all gigs and NCPD requests in all 6 districts in the game. And yeah, let's just say that this is an absolute grind. Like, just look at these missions I had to do. It feels like there is an endless amount of gigs to complete, and after finishing each district, you get a trophy. Any danger? Like, any danger? It's elementary. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in Watson. Little Tokyo. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in Westbrook. City Lights. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in City Centre. Mean Streets. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in Hayward. The Wasteland. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in the Badlands. The Jungle. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in Santo Domingo. Greetings from Pacifica. Complete all gigs and NCPD scanner hustles in Pacifica. So at this stage of the journey, I needed something new and fresh, and I decided that I would go on to the Phantom Liberty DLC. This DLC is considered one of the greatest DLCs and takes approximately 20 extra hours of gameplay. Just like in the main game, there are a whole heap of missable trophies, and we have to try our hardest not to miss them. So the story for Phantom Liberty begins when we get a call from a person known as Songbird who wants us to meet them at the Dogtown checkpoint. When we arrive at the checkpoint, we completely glitch out, and we then meet Songbird, who has managed to kick Johnny out of our head. She tells us that she is aboard Space Force One with Rosalind Myers, the president of the new United States of America. Yeah, I know, typical United States name. Space Force One, however, is going to crash land in Dogtown, and Songbird wants V there to help protect the president. So we sneak into Dogtown and arrive at the top of the stadium and watch as Space Force One gets shot out of the sky and also nearly takes us out in the process.
Songbird! God damn it! Shit.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
We then race down to the wreckage and extract the president, and this pops our very first trophy of the DLC. All the president's men. Save President Myers. We then need to lead the president to the safe house, and along the way she tells us the story of Kurt Hansen, who is the leader of Dogtown. We arrive at the safe house, however it is being guarded by Hansen's men. Hansen's men surround us, however Songbird takes control of a chimera, which then kills the entire army. However, the chimera glitches and we lose contact with Songbird, and then we have to fight it. Together, V and Myers take out the chimera, and then we pop our next trophy. However, Songbird is still nowhere to be found. Arachnophobia. Defeat the Chimera. We arrive at the safe house and then wait out the night, and in the morning we find Myers and she begins to devise a plan to find Songbird. Myers sends us to a random location, and here we find a payphone and again call a random number that gets us in touch with a person named Reed. Reed tells us to meet him at a basketball court in Dogtown, and after putting a gun to our back we then meet Idris Elba, or as he's known in this game, Solomon Reed. Reed is an FIA agent, and together we head back to meet Myers. Together, we decide that it is in our best interest to find Songbird. And so our very first stop in this plan is on the way to this place called the Moth Bar, and let's just say things got a little bit heated. Here we meet Alex, who isn't a big fan of Reed, but somehow we manage to talk our way through it and she agrees to help us find Songbird. We then meet a netrunner named Slider, and he tells us that Songbird has been controversially trying to access the Black Wall. Songbird then gets in touch with us and tells us to go to the Black Sapphire, where Kurt Hansen is holding a party for the elite of Night City. We manage to sneak our way into the party, and here we meet Songbird in the flesh for the first time, and she's about to tell us her plan when we are famously interrupted by Kurt Hansen. But basically, Songbird's plan is to steal the neural matrix from Kurt Hansen, which has AI from beyond the infamous Black Wall, and this will help to cure V and Johnny's situation. Hansen knows that V and Reed are up to no good, and he politely asks them to leave. After waiting a day or so to let things cool down, we then meet back up with Reed and Alex, and here we go over the plan. Whilst doing some reconnaissance at the party, V and Reed found out that two netrunners are going to be having a meeting with Hansen. After abducting the pair, we then use behavioural implants, which allows Alex and V to clone themselves as the brother and sister pair. After a short little meeting with Hansen, we then head down with Songbird to where the neural matrix is, and here is where we need to make the most important decision of the DLC. Now, while we were getting everything set up, Songbird contacted us and says she wants to get out of everything associated with President Myers, the FIA, and the NUSA. So her plan is to steal the neural matrix and then run away and then cure V of the relic. And of course, I thought this offer was too good. So as we steal the neural matrix, Alex kills Hansen, but we then decide to betray Alex and Reed. Together, we escape from Hansen's facility, and after waiting a day or two, Songbird finally calls us and we find her barely alive in the back of a truck. Her plan? Well, it's to go to the Night City airport and board a flight to the moon. So we sneak into the airport, but Reed and President Myers have other ideas and they know that we're here. As we sneak our way to the control tower, V has to fight against the entire NUSA Special Forces while Songbird hacks the system and allows us to get the rocket ship to the moon. And let's just say this is probably the most epic part of the entire game. After successfully holding off the forces, we get on the train and arrive at the ship. However, we are confronted by Reed. Songbird is dying, and instead of killing Reed, I decide to leave Songbird for him so that she can get the help she needs, and this popped me the first trophy of the 5 different endings. King of Swords. Take Songbird home. Now, after completing this ending, this then gets you access to the Tower trophy. After a few days, the team from the NUSA come and pick us up, and they begin the operation to remove the relic from V's brain. However, V wakes up 2 years later, and whilst the operation was successful, the damage from the relic was too extensive and V will never be the same. So V decides to return to Night City, but everyone has moved on in the last 2 years, and after catching up with Vic, his old Ripper Doc, and then running into Misty, V realises that his life will no longer be the same and he will have a regular life like everyone else. The Tower.
V.
Complete
So,
things done
you went and beat
change. This completed the 2 separate endings of the game, and so then I reloaded my save exactly to the point where Reed confronted us on the ship, and this time I killed him. I then put Songbird on the ship and then watched her fly away, and then this popped us our next trophy. King of Wands. Take Songbird to the stars. Now for the remaining 2 endings, we then need to return to where we were stealing the neural matrix, and instead of betraying Reed and Alex, we need to choose to betray Songbird. In this ending, Hansen kills Alex, and then Songbird goes completely rogue and escapes. She then leaves us to fight Hansen and his army on our own, and with the help of Reed, we kill him and escape. Now, before completing the very next 2 endings, I was a little bit nervous as none of the previous game saves had spawned in the remaining gigs I needed to do. But after betraying Songbird, they were there all on the map, and I decided to complete all of the miscellaneous and collectible trophies associated with the DLC. Just like in the main game, these are generally all collectible or combat specific and are pretty straightforward, so again, enjoy a plethora of trophies. Dirty Deeds. complete every gig in Dogtown. The APB is not enough. Become Dogtown's most wanted criminal. Judgment Day. Eliminate 3 bosses from the increased criminal activity category. Relic Ruler. Unlock all perks in the Relic perk tree. Spin Doctor. Complete Run This Town. Easy come, easy go. Steal the Arasaka medical truck or deliver 10 vehicles to El Capitan. But anyway, returning to the final 2 endings of the game, Songbird has been captured by special forces in Night City and we intercept the convoy and try to free her. We tell her that we're here to help, but instead she runs away and then she ends up at Sino Shore. Here we get to see the harsh reality and flashbacks of Songbird's earlier life and how she ended up working for the FIA and all of the things that she did. And due to her exposure to the Black Wall, she is dying, and after finally catching up to her, she asks us to end her life. Instead of killing her, I decided to keep her alive, and with the help of Reed, we deliver her back to President Myers, and this then gets us the same ending before, where the relic is removed from our head, but we have been in a coma for 2 years. King of Pentacles. Refuse Songbird's request. And so then for the final ending, we fulfill Songbird's promise and we kill her. After dropping the body back to President Myers, she refuses to help us remove the relic as we didn't fulfill our promise to bring Songbird back alive. This then returns us to the final point of the game where we can complete the last mission, and this popped us our very last trophy of the Phantom Liberty DLC. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the best DLCs I have ever played, and it was potentially even better than what the main story was. King of Cups. Fulfill Songbird's request. But anyway, back to the main story, and we only have 4 trophies left before we finally get the Platinum Trophy for Cyberpunk 2077. So before getting the endings, I had 1 collectible trophy left to get, and that was for unlocking all of the fast travel points on the map. I did try to drive everywhere, and I was hoping that this would unlock naturally, but somehow I managed to miss 3 points, and after finding them, I got my next trophy. Frequent Flyer. Find all fast travel data terms. And so then finally, I was ready to move on to the final 3 endings of the game. The very first ending was just an alternative to what we completed at the start, and instead of keeping our body, we decided to hand it over to Johnny and go into cyberspace with Holt. After waking up with Johnny now in control of V's body, he decides to get a bus ticket and leaves Night City for good.
Hey, V,
Temperance.
free bird and all.
Let Johnny Silverhand keep your body. For the next 2 endings, I then needed to reload a manual save, but this time at the point where I was talking to Misty on the balcony. Instead of choosing to side with Panam, I then decided to help Hanako and Takamura kill Yorinobu. So together we then infiltrate Arasaka headquarters and find out that Saburo Arasaka has actually copied his consciousness onto a disc. And after confronting Yorinobu, Hanako doesn't kill him, instead she transfers Sarabuku's consciousness onto him and he can continue to live forever. In this ending, Arasaka's doctors try their hardest to remove the relic from V, but they too are unsuccessful and he only has 6 months to live, and we decide to live them out on Earth. The Devil. Help Takamura avenge the death of Saburo Arasaka. And then for the very final ending of the game, we then ask Rogue to help us out. Now just like in the very first ending, we assaulted Arasaka Tower to get to the Mikoshi. As we arrive at the Mikoshi, Adam Smasher appears, and instead of killing Sol, he kills Rogue, and after fighting him and killing him, we decide to give our body back to V, and when we wake up, V has taken Rogue's spot as the head of the afterlife, and we set out on a job and pop our final trophy, and then the Platinum.
Hey, V, what's up,
The
kid?
Sun.
Been a while since you came to see
Become a
old
legend of the afterlife. Never fade away. Now, the journey for the Cyberpunk 2077 Platinum Trophy and the Phantom Liberty DLC is honestly such an amazing experience, and given all of the recent updates, I honestly could not recommend this game highly enough. They have done such a good job at cleaning up all of the glitches, and given that it's free if you're a PS Plus member, it makes it a no-brainer to play this. Thanks again for watching, please leave a like and comment down below and hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.